through the papers. Claire Muldoon and David Hamilton are here. Good to see you both. David, it's Thursday night.
It's number one. It's Top of the Pops.
Way!
But not at Christmas. No. I think it's budget cuts. That's the reason. But this Christmas, no Queen's speech, no Top of the Pops. What are we going to do? We'll have to rely on the old porridge film to keep us entertained, which comes back every year to keep us entertained. Yeah. But with no Top of the Pops, we won't know who is number one, whether it's Cliff Richard or Stormzy.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was already Stormzy doing better.
Huh?
I thought Stormzy was already leading.
Well,
he might be at the minute.
Is in front at the moment, but Cliff is determined that he's going to have another Christmas album at number one.
I haven't heard his latest, is it?
Nor have I.
Is it a new one, or has he recycled an old one?
I don't know. Does he still do calendars?
Yes.
Oh, I think he does.
Yes. Cliff calendars are huge.
I think a lot of people will miss Top of the Pops, don't you, at Christmas time?
Yes.
I mean, in the days when I did it, it was an institution, and whole families would sit around the television because the music in those days went across the board. What appealed to children appealed to their parents and even grandparents as well. I think it was dropped because the singles chart was no longer a major barometer of what was happening,
Yeah.
But a terrific brand name.
But they've also done a Christmas special, which they've now cut. So it's not even this Christmas. There may not be a Queen's speech, but there will be a King's speech.
There will be a King's speech, yes.
Yeah. TOTP, you say, It was
an iconic logo as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, Thursday nights. It was Thursday. I always think Thursday nights.
Absolute essential viewing, wasn't it? And audiences were something like 12 or 15 million. But the BBC was very careful with its money in those days, and the most I ever got for hosting Top of the Pops was 90 quid.
But that was quite a lot in those days, it surely.
Well, not really.
No, because he went round the corner to open a supermarket.
I did. Well, what I did afterwards, I used to do a pub in the old Kent Road where I got about 3 times as much money for working to 200 people. So I think, the show gave you the shop window. But
I tell you what, because I remember those days as well, when I worked at the BBC, on a Thursday night, because it was live, there would be a queue all the way around Television Centre, right down the road towards White City, of people who'd got tickets and were just waiting to get in.
Well, tickets for Top of the Pops were like gold dust. I mean, you just couldn't get them, and people almost fighting to be there in the studio.
It was iconic.
The other thing was, it was a very small studio with clever shooting and clever direction. It looked much bigger. So you'd have about 100 kids who 1 minute would be looking at David Essex on one set over here, and then they'd be herded over to another set where they'd be looking at Rod Stewart, so they sort of...
And mega names, just as you've mentioned.
Oh,
huge big names on the same show live.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exciting. I feel excited just thinking about it.
They don't make television like that anymore.
They don't. From that to something serious in the Sun on Sunday, road safety, Claire.
Yeah, well, the Christmas period is coming up. We're in the middle of it now. Loads of people have got the trees up, etc. Everyone's talking about Christmas cards, Royal Mail strike. Will we get them there? All the other strikes. But this is a very, very serious story. 1 in 8 over the limit at the wheel have been found, actually. A Christmas road safety campaign found 1 in 8 drivers were either drunk or high in its first week, and that is absolutely shocking. It's a shocking indictment to think that people are getting behind the wheel of a car that can cause so much damage potentially to pedestrians, cyclists, and other road users as well, that they're actually doing it. How can anyone be so stupid and selfish as to do that? And I'm not only talking about those that are going out for a Christmas night out, taking the car and then drink driving. It's the morning after as well. It's still in people's systems. We can breathalyse now, which is great, I think, for drugs in the system, as well as alcohol in the system. We've now heard, there's a report in one of the papers today, there's actually a saliva test to find out if you're pregnant. So with the increase in testing now, it can only be a good thing. And, the flip side of these statistics are that these people, the 1 in 8, are being caught before they have done any damage. That's the other thing. But, please, everyone, take care of what you're doing over this festive period, and please just get a taxi.
Yeah, we've only got about 30 seconds, David. Should we have a dad joke?
Tell us a dad joke.
Yes, well, according to the Sunday edition of the Daily Star, dad jokes really are funny. And so this is a survey. I don't think it was in this country. I think it was in Illinois. But anyway, would you like a couple of dad jokes?
Please, go on.
Oh, okay. My wife suggested I wash my car with our son. I said, surely a sponge would be better.
Yeah, that really is.
Here's one. I don't know whether you get this one or not, but my friend suggested that I stop singing Wonderwall, and I said maybe.
Oh,
You get that?
Yes, very good.
One more.
Go on,
one more.
can't resist.
Here's one you can answer. Where do you weigh a whale?
Oh no!
And a
railway station. Oh, they're Christmas cracker jokes,
aren't they? Or worse. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff, David, Claire.
It's the way you tell them.
It's the way you tell them.
Oh dear, that makes me feel all nostalgic.
We'll have to do that next weekend. Awful Christmas cracker jokes, won't we?
Yeah. But I used to like those curly plastic fish you put on your hand.
You can still get those.
Can you?
Yeah.
I used to love those.
Now, let me tell you about this. A 65-ton tank that last saw service during the Cold War is being renovated ahead of the King's coronation next year.
A team of volunteers from the Royal Lancers and the Nottinghamshire Yeomanry Museum at Thoresby are scraping years of rust from the Conqueror in an effort to save the machine for future generations. So we sent Will Hollis along for the ride.
As restorations go, they don't get much bigger than this.
This bin's particularly bad. As you can see, the whole thing's rotted away, so that's going to take a lot more work than the other one, which has only got patchwork on it.
At 65 tonnes, the Conqueror is quite the gate guardian at Thoresby. When the Military Museum in Nottinghamshire asked for volunteers to fix its new tank, it was an easy yes for Army veteran Gus.
I left in '93, and this is the first chance I've had to work on a tank again, and it's like coming home. It's really good. We're loving it because all the lads, they all know what they're doing, and they've all got specific jobs, and we just kind of help each other out to get the thing back up to scratch.
The Conqueror is covered in rust and has more than a few holes to fill, which is where restoration expert Dave, who runs a paint business, takes lead.
What we've got here are all the bazooka plates from the side of the tank, and they are basically the blast shields to prevent them being bazookas going and blowing the tracks off. I'm taking these away today to be restored at our workshops in Retford.
Surrey, the first public demonstration of Britain's new armoured giant, the mighty Conqueror, the 65-ton tank that packs a punch to match its size.
The Conqueror is one of the biggest tanks ever used by the British Army. Only 180 or so were built. They were mainly used to defend West Germany during the Cold War. This one here, it's in desperate need of repair, and that's why it's been brought here to the Military Museum at Thoresby. The Lancers Museum honours the long service Nottinghamshire has given to the British Army, from the early days of light cavalry to the tank regiments that we see today. Bringing the Conqueror here helps to complete the museum, which opened in 2011. But the connection Thoresby Park has with tanks goes back much further.
We're not going to elevate that gun anytime soon, are we?
Former Lancer Captain Mick is the museum's curator.
Thoresby in World War II used to have a tank training area, and this is the first tank to be back at Thoresby Courtyard in over 80 years. So I think that is a really good advertisement for Thoresby.
Most of the men here served in the 17th and 21st Lancers, including Rob. This year, the regiment celebrates the centenary of its formation. Rob says projects like this help veterans stay connected to their history and each other.
When I was leaving school, I had a choice, either go down the pit in a factory or follow what my heart said, which was to be a soldier. We have a saying in the forces: you either come out of the forces as a civilian or you come out with half a green brain, which means that you've still got something there for the forces.
The museum hopes that visitors will help to meet the £10,000 cost of fixing the tank so it can be ready for King Charles's coronation in May next year. And after that, the small piece of history will become a big part of this museum's future. Will Hollis for GB News in Thoresby.
I love that.
I love the dedication that goes into restoring things like that. I can't say I'm a great fan of tanks particularly, but I know there are people who are. Military vehicles in general.
Oh, they're phenomenal, aren't they? I mean, they're huge
military vehicle shows all over the country and everything.
Yeah. Oh, I love all that sort of stuff. Love all of that, and they're just absolutely phenomenal.
But the
work
care
for that.
That really is. Well done, chaps.
Yes, quite right. I love this from Laurie. Morning, Laurie. It says, our Christmas starts on the 24th when the table is laid and all the veg are prepared. On Christmas morning, we get a phone call at 7 o'clock from our grandsons to tell us he's been. Well, hopefully he's been.
Yeah.
Then we get a 2-minute walk to our son's house, Christmas music playing, grandsons sit at the top of the stairs till we arrive. Then it all kicks off until 4 p.m. when we switch to birthday mode for our youngest grandson.
A lot of families having to do that.
That sounds heavenly.
I love the idea of the children ringing up saying, he's been.
Love it.
He's been.
Love it. Hope he comes for me this year. Anyway, much more to come for you in a couple of minutes. First, here's your weather.